Hey guys, this is a segment from the Slumpbuster Podcast. You can find the full episode on any of the various podcast platforms, or of course, subscribe to us on YouTube for more of our content. Other than that, guys, sit down, bust a slump, and enjoy.
As far as like the final two fights, Chandler, I mean, what can you say about Michael Chandler? Dude's a beast. I knew that he would be coming over from Bellator. He was one of, the last few champions outside of the UFC where everybody probably thought like, hey, this guy will be something. He just has that strong wrestling background, but he didn't really even need to use it. His striking, he's just so powerful with his punches. So I thought that was fantastic. And then, of course, we get to the main event, and I was actually surprised. Ju-Ju, I think both you and I, we both had Conor pegged to win, especially after the first fight with Poirier. And, we sort of talked about it, is that Conor had been out of the game for a little bit. How much ring rust did he really have? I know he had that fight with Cerrone, but Cerrone's sort of on the, coming down the hill from his career as well, and on the wrong side of the fight game. And so I just thought, Poirier looked good. He executed the game plan perfectly. I figured like, hey, if anybody's going to win in the early rounds, it'd be Conor, but it was actually Poirier. Looked sharp. He had a good takedown early. And he just looked like he was ready for everything Conor had. And normally everybody praises Conor as being creative and this sort of fight genius, but even those crazy spinning capoeira kicks that McGregor normally throws, it just looked like Poirier was prepared for it and ready. And so my hat's off to Poirier. He did a great job.
Jared, did you yourself get a chance to watch this weekend's pay-per-view?
So I've been bad. I didn't catch the fight night. So what I did is I went back and watched highlights, the YouTube highlights people tend to post, so I can kind of get a good picture of what happened. And I got to agree with Dre. Conor looked like himself physically. In fact, he looked tougher than himself, but you watch him in his motions. You watch him let punches slide by. Like he's not even trying to correct mistakes. I think something a lot of people caught is Dustin would point, almost like mocking him, saying, "Oh, I just caught you on that left side. You better watch out." And Conor's not taking it into effect. He's not thinking about how to correct it. He's just like, I'll take another one. It'd be fine. And sure enough, caught him with two more towards the end of that second round, and that was it.
Do you think Conor went into this fight a little bit careless? I mean, he's only been in the octagon for 40 seconds in the last 2 years.
I definitely think he went in thinking he was going to take the win no matter what. He certainly at least acted like that. He was very cordial compared to some of his other fights beforehand. Not a whole lot of trashing. They were kind of nice to each other up to the fight itself, but definitely walked in with a level of overconfidence that was not earned given his recent fights, given his recent time in the cage.
What about your thoughts on Michael Chandler? Obviously, as Dre mentioned, the winningest Bellator fighter moving over to the UFC for the first time, and he gets a big win. Now people are putting him in the title conversation against Dustin Poirier, all considering what may happen with Khabib in a very competitive weight class.
I somewhat expected like another Ben Askren kind of situation where he would transfer over and just the UFC would just still be another whole level above him. But no, he absolutely proved himself to be a top-notch fighter, even against UFC veterans. As far as him getting that spot, a title shot already, it's kind of interesting because you have guys who've been really putting in the work, pounding out on the mats and in the cage. But he has as well. Just because he's coming from a different label does not mean he has not put in that work and earned a shot. So it's kind of, for me, it's up in the air. It can go either way. He can either work through some of those top 10 guys, top 15 guys, or they can give to him, see what happens. We could very easily have a new UFC lightweight champion.
If you had to put your money, Khabib, do you think that he would come out of retirement? I mean, 29-0 just doesn't sound as good as 30-0.
No, it doesn't. If I was watching Dana White's looking for a fight, looking for going around finding those new fighters on his TV show, and there's a segment where Khabib's actually talking to one of the other hosts and discussing how, maybe it was a little early, shouldn't have done it quite yet. It was a little preemptive. So I think he can come back into, be a little coaxed back into it. Maybe something significant. There's a little bit of thoughts thrown around with him fighting St. Pierre. So who knows? I think he can come back to it.
Dre, I want you to play matchmaker right now. If you're Dana, what's that next fight? And is it for the title?
Oh, man, yeah. So I think you sort of have to. Khabib has basically said, hey, I'm retired, and I know they're trying to get him back in and see if he'll come out of retirement. And I know Khabib has flirted with the idea, but I say you got to move on until Khabib is firmly there. It was even a little bit weird seeing McGregor not fight for a title. I thought 100% that they would be like, oh, yeah, this is the actual legitimate title, because, you know, they always love McGregor and they want to get him that. But I think, you know, Poirier has earned it. I think you've got to give Poirier the shot. Chandler, I think, you know, looked really good against Hooker, especially because Poirier and Hooker were obviously coming off, you know, a fight of the year sort of type of fight. And so Chandler is, in my opinion, has earned it. He's one of the most exciting and athletic fighters. I don't think they do that, though. Instead, I think maybe they go with an Oliveira type fighter where, you know, he's really good at striking, really good at jits all around. Poirier's ready to stand there and bang. So I think it'd probably be that fight.
Jared, what about you? Matchmaker, where are you going?
As much as the matchmakers are certainly looking for that stylistic matchup, who's going to work well against who's going to put on a good show, they're also looking at the money makers. When you throw out a name there, when you throw out Conor McGregor, people, I mean, compare him in this fight, some of his more better fights like against Alvarez. He was not the same fighter, but it's that name. That name puts butts in seats, or nowadays, eyes on the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and say it is Poirier still, but it is going to be against Chandler. Two guys, both impressive wins in this last fight. Both are going to sell tickets. Both are going to get people butts in seats, paying for the ESPN subscription to watch that fight. I see that one happening.